instruments that were comparable somewhat to oboes in those days, but there's music in the background. And then it says torches, which means lights, right? Enter a sewer. It doesn't mean a sewer, it means a server, okay? From server to sewer is not always, well, anyway. A server and diverse servants with dishes and service over the stage. So before Macbeth enters, you have to picture that in the background, there's hustle and bustle going on. There are people bringing dishes, etc., etc. Evidently, there's some kind of dinner or something going on, right? The king is here and all that, okay. But we just have the good fortune to see Macbeth come in. And we're going to spend a little time on this great speech, but let me just read it one way first, okay. If it were done, when 'tis done, 'twere well. It were done quickly. If assassination could trammel up the consequence and catch with his Circe's success, that but this blow might be the be-all and the end-all here, but here, upon this bank and shoal of time, we jump the life to come. But in these cases, we still have judgment here, that we but teach bloody instructions, which being taught, return to plague the inventor. This even-handed justice commends the ingredients of our poison chalice to our own lips. He's here in double trust. First, as I am his kinsman and his subject, strong both against the deed, then as his host, who should against his murderer shut the door, not bear the knife myself. Besides, this Duncan hath borne his faculties so meek, hath been so clear in his great office, that his virtues will plead like angels trumpet-tongued against the deep damnation of his taking off. And pity, like a naked newborn babe striding the blast, or heaven's cherubim horsed upon the sightless couriers of the air, shall blow the horrid deed in every eye, that tears shall drown the wind. I have no spur to prick the sides of my intent, but only vaulting ambition, which o'erleaps itself and falls on the other. And Lady Macbeth comes in. Oh no, what news? Lady Macbeth goes, yes, almost sobbed. Why have you left the chamber? Have they asked for me? No, you not, he has. We will proceed no further in this business. He hath honored me of late, and I have bought golden opinions from all sorts of people, which would be worn now in their newest gloss, not cast aside so soon. Was thou drunk wherein you dressed yourself? Hath it slept since? And wakes it now to look so green and pale at what it did so freely? From this time, such I account thy love. Art thou afeared to be the same in thine own act and valor as thou art in desire? Wouldst thou have that which thou esteemest the ornament of life, and live a coward in thine own esteem, letting I dare not wait upon I would, like the poor cat in the adage, prithee peace. I dare do all that may become a man. Who dares do more is none. Oh, what beast was then that made you break this enterprise to me? When you durst do it, then you were a man. And to be more than what you were, you would be so much more the man. Nor time, nor place did then adhere, and yet you would make both what they have made themselves, and that their fitness now does unmake you. I have given suck, and know how tender 'tis to love the babe that milks me. I would, while it was smiling in my face, have plucked my nipple from this boneless gums and dashed the brains out. Had I so sworn as you have done to this. If we should fail, we fail. But screw your courage to the sticking place, and we'll not fail. When Duncan is asleep, wherein the rather shall his day's hard journey soundly invite him, his two chamberlains will I, with wine and wassail, so convince that memory, the water of the brain, shall be a fume, and the receipt of reason a limbeck only. When in swinish sleep their drenched natures lies as in a death, what cannot you and I perform upon the unguarded Duncan? What not put upon his spongy officers, who shall bear the guilt of our great care? Bring forth men children only, for thy undaunted metal should compose nothing but males. Will it not be received when we have marked with blood these sleepy two of his own chamber, and use their very daggers that they have dunt? Who dares receive it other? As we shall make our griefs and clamor roar upon his death. Away, and mock the time with fairest show. The false face must hide what the false heart doth know. Okay. So, we had to read it through one time, all the way through. But we're going to go back, because this scene and the couple that follow merit extra close looking at, and they're great. Okay. So let us begin. At the beginning of 1:7, when he says this tricky line, and I'll be sharing some footnotes and I'll be reading it, parts of it, piece at a time. He says this convoluted sentence, very famous soliloquy, this one, by the way, if you don't know. If it were done when 'tis done, then 'twere well it were done quickly. What did he say? If it were done when 'tis done, then 'twere well it were done quickly. First of all, look at the tenses. I've talked about this in another part of the play too. Present, future, past, to come, to do, whatever. Or is it, if it were done when 'tis done, then 'twere well it were done quickly? Or is it, if it were done when 'tis done, then 'twere well? Period. I know your punctuations may vary, but punctuation can vary in Shakespeare. Then 'twere well. And then new sentence. It were done quickly if the assassination could, and you may have a period after it were done quickly, most editions do. But look already at the workings of the mind, and we all know the mind of thought is different than the mind of linear sentence after sentence, word after word, okay? So there's a note in this edition that says these lines 1 through 4, these tongue-twisting lines force the actor either to gabble or to speak very slowly, which I thought was an interesting direction. So let me do the gabbling version. If it were done when 'tis done, then 'twere well it were done quickly. If the assassination could travel up the consequence and catch with his surcease success, then but this blow might be the be-all and the end-all here. But here, upon this bank and shoal of time, we jump the life to come. Or, right, if I'm going to do it, I should do it, and if this would be the be-all, happen later. And when you read it more slowly, you sort of get that. If it were done when 'tis done, then 'twere well it were done quickly. If the assassination, by the way, this is the first use of the word assassination, as far as Oxford English Dictionary knows, it's right here in this play. If the assassination could trammel up the consequence, trammel like a fishing net, trammel up the consequence and catch with his surcease, with his death, success, that but this blow, this one blow, might be the be-all and the end-all. By the way, be-all and end-all, first time used right here in this speech. Be-all and the end-all here, but here, upon this bank and shoal of time. Okay, the banks of a shore, the shoals that ships erect on. It's either bank and shoal, some editions will say bench and school of time, which also works, right? We jump the life to come. Who would care about the afterlife, or if there's an afterlife, or if there's an afterlife? Jump the life to come doesn't necessarily mean the life after you die. It means we jump the life. We wouldn't care about what the consequence would be. We all know after a great decision, and there's certainly a great act, aren't we all in the middle of one? There are consequences, often unforeseen. But he's saying if this is all we had to do, boom, one blow, done, we've got success, it's over. Who cares what happens next? I do it in a minute. That's what he's saying to himself at the top of the speech, basically. But then he says, but in these cases, we still often means always, have judgment here that we but teach bloody instructions, which being taught, return to plague the inventor. Okay? He's not a head of state yet. He's just thinking about this particularly. This even-handed justice commends the ingredients of our poisoned chalice to our own lips. We often hear actors go, the ingredients of our poisoned chalice to our own lips. Well, it is to our own lips, but it's to our own lips. Okay? And then his mind goes, he's here in double trust. Yet another instance of doubling in this play. In double trust, but he says double trust, and then he's going to say three different roles that he's playing. First, as I am his kinsman and his subject, strong both against the deed. Then, third, as his host, who should against his murderer shut the door, not bear the knife myself. Now, this is custom. How many cultures is this custom? Welcome the stranger, welcome the guest, treat them better than you treat your family, Well, I'm his host, and I'm supposed to shut the door against the murderer. I'm going to bear the knife? That's crazy. Well, then he goes even further, and he says, besides, this Duncan hath borne his faculties so meek. In other words, he's held his office with such humility and dignity, right? Hath been so clear, innocent in his great office. And what we've seen of Duncan, he's been that way, right? That his virtues will plead like angels, trumpet-tongued, against the deep damnation of his taking off. You don't have to go high and then low like that, but, against such a crime as to kill him. And look what he says after that. This fertile imagination of Macbeth, this poetic imagination of Macbeth, and pity, like a naked newborn babe striding the blast, that is, standing over the winds that are blowing, or pity as heaven's cherubim, meaning a whole bunch of little cherubs horsed upon the sightless couriers of the air. The horses, the image of sightless horses like the winds, but with these cherubim above it, shall blow the horrid deed in every eye, that tears shall drown the wind. Oh my God, do I want to risk that? Pity as a naked newborn babe, or pity as these cherubim on the horses, the sightless couriers of the air, blowing the deed in every eye? The tears will drown the wind, right? We see rain drown the wind sometimes, the tears will drown the wind. And then he says this, if there isn't enough cryptic stuff, I have no spur to prick the sides of my intent. Spur, prick the sides, on horseback, right? Pricking the, right? I have no spur to prick the sides of my intent, meaning what? To prick the sides to make me keep going? Or does it mean I have no spur to prick the sides of my intent to stop me from going? Anybody have an answer? I don't have an answer. I don't think he wants us to have an answer. He wants to write the torment in this guy's mind, right? I have no spur to prick the sides of my intent, but only how you want to do it. But no sooner does he say and falls on the other, then Lady Macbeth comes in and says, and he turns to her and says, how now, what news? And she says, yes, I'm not sucked. Why have you left the chamber? And he goes, well, have they asked for me? She's like, are you crazy? What do you mean has he asked for you? He's the king. He's sitting at the table. Where did you go? Anybody ever been in a dinner party like that? I don't know, or had somebody do. At any rate, there'll be other dinner parties to come in this play. Have they asked me? Lady Macbeth says, know you not he has, with no punctuation. If there's a comma after know you not, it would be, know you not he has, right? And Macbeth immediately goes, you know what? I think we're not going to go any further with this. I think I want to take a break, right? Proceed no further in this business. Why? He hath honored me of late. I have bought golden opinions from all sorts of people, which now would be worn in their newest gloss, not cast aside so soon. We've talked about how much clothing imagery. Why do you dress me in borrowed robes? The Thane of Cawdor lives, right? So much imagery like that. So Macbeth speaks in that imagery and says, which would be worn now in their newest gloss, not cast aside so soon. Lady Macbeth has an answer and says, was the hope drunk wherein you dressed yourself? You want to talk dressing? You dressed yourself in hope. Were you drunk? Was it drunk? Hath it slept since? And wakes it now to look so green and pale at what it did so freely? Okay. From this time, such I account thy love. Now, I'm going to say something about this little speech here. How does she say it? If you gather the drift, we'll go over the rest of the lines in a moment. Is she castigating him and scolding him? Does she even come in and go, no, you're not, he has, why aren't you out there? Come on, get with it. Is it all that kind of Lady Macbeth manipulative energy? Or is she, knowing the milk of human kindness in her husband, trying to do it in a cajoling way, in a kind way? Or is she doing it in the rest of the speech in a very sultry, seductive way? Because look what she says next, right? From this time, such I account thy love. Art thou afeard to be the same in thine own act and valor as thou art in desire? Because you're sure good in desire, right? Wouldst thou have that which thou esteemest the ornament of life, the crowning achievement, right? And live like a coward in thine own esteem, letting I dare not wait upon I would, like the poor cat in the adage. The cat in the adage is basically, the cat would eat fish, but she will not wet her feet. So she doesn't want to dip her feet into the water to catch the fish. So that's what she's saying to him. And of course it's kind of mocking in a way, definitely. But Macbeth then says, prithee peace, I dare do all that may become a man. Who dares do more is none. Okay? So, and in this world of man up and be manly and be a man and walk like a man and all these things, right? Well, who dares do more is none. If you're not a man, what are you? No, not a woman, a beast. And she goes, well, when he says, I dare do all that may become a man, who dares do more is none. She says, well, what beast was then that made you break this enterprise to me? Why did you talk about this? And what does that tell us, if she's speaking truth? That this enterprise, which is the assassination, he talked to her about first. I mean, I don't know that this is absolute evidence, but there's a suggestion there when she says, "What beast was then that made you break this enterprise to me? When you durst do it, then you were a man, and to be more than what you were, you would be so much more the man. If it were done when 'tis done, 'twere well it were done quickly."